inductee this afternoon is Tom Sawyer, born 1936. Tom Sawyer has had an unwavering commitment to the Ontario crop production industry over a career spanning several companies: Ciba-Geigy, the Fertilizer Institute of Ontario, and Sylvite. His work has resulted in a disciplined and principled approach by agribusiness in Ontario to environmental stewardship, cost-effective and responsible nutrient usage, the regulation of crop protection products, and the development of a cohort of professional certified crop advisors, applicators, and warehouse managers. During Tom's tenure in marketing and product development at Ciba-Geigy from 1967 to 1989, he created a committee of representatives from the Pesticide Action Network and members of the agricultural industry to work together to develop a reference guide for on-farm pesticide use to decrease the possibility of pesticides getting into the groundwater. The guide was entitled Pesticides in Water and showed how Tom's effective leadership could facilitate a positive outcome for groups with opposing views, but a common concern for the environment. As the Executive Vice President for the Fertilizer Institute of Ontario, TFIO, from 1989 to 99, Mr. Sawyer assisted the efforts to create a Canadian program of certified crop advisors, CCAs, and he became a director on the first Ontario CCA board. The CCAs underwent exam-based certification to train them in assessing the agronomic and environmental efforts of their recommendations to farmers. This led to what is known today as precision agriculture and 4R nutrient stewardship. Tom was a founding member in 1988 of the Canadian Fertilizer Institute's Environmental Affairs Committee to address the implications of modern agricultural practices on agricultural sustainability. The committee's first major environmental policy paper was called The Role of Fertilizer in Sustainable Agriculture and Food Production. In the 1990s, Tom led the implementation of the Canadian Fertilizer Quality Assurance Program to develop a product testing and certification system to ensure production of quality fertilizer products and a high caliber of trained suppliers. While at TFIO, he supported the Ontario Feed and Grain Dealers Association and the Seed Association to form the Ontario Agribusiness Association, OABA, in 2000 to create one voice for Ontario agribusiness with both government and the public, and to facilitate research designed to find solutions to agribusiness issues. Tom was also the driving force in the early 1980s in developing an innovative insurance solution for CropLife Canada members. Chemical warehouse standards and certifications were established, and then an effective warehousing insurance program resulted. This program exists today, serving 1,200 warehouses across Canada, and over the decades has saved the industry tens of millions of dollars. From 1999 to 2006, he joined Sylvite, where he introduced several new product lines for agriculture, including greenhouse-soluble fertilizers, Mini-MAP, zinc starters, and low-salt starter fertilizer. In 1997, Tom Sawyer received the Alumni Volunteer Award from the University of Guelph for his contributions to Ontario agriculture, to the fertilizer industry, and to the university itself. His foresight as co-chair in 2011 of the research project Planning for Tomorrow for OAC resulted in modifications to the Bachelor of Science in Agriculture curriculum and in the creation of the ongoing and successful OAC Student Recruitment Initiative. He was inducted into the University of Guelph Sports Hall of Fame in 1997. Tom Sawyer has a unique ability to foresee and mitigate the production issues of agriculture, the viability of agribusiness, and the sustainability of the environment, coupled with his skill in bringing differing interests together to create lasting solutions. He is most worthy of induction into the Ontario Agricultural Hall of Fame. Tom Sawyer was nominated by the Sylvite Group in 2016. I would ask you to come forward to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman Barry, thank you for your leadership, and thank you, committee, for this preparation for this special day. Thank you to Hugh Lumens of Sawyer for his initiation for the submission to the Agricultural Hall of Fame. Secondly, Hugh, thank you for recruiting your letter writers to write information on my past and how it has impacted our Ontario agriculture. I'm going to take a little different approach. I've had a fair amount of fun working in agriculture. But also, my colleague talked about luck. I had luck too. In the winter of '59, my hockey teammate John Henry and I were showering and dressing after the night event. And he told me that his girlfriend was waiting for him and that she had brought her roommate Nancy West with her to the rink. We were married in '64, and this July we'll be married for 52 years. She has made a tremendous difference in my career. We have two boys. Roy, he's a mechanical engineer. Rob, he's a teacher at the Kingsway College in Toronto, and he's been 20 years teaching, and he teaches grade 5. His wife, Alexis, we're very proud of her. She's just been given her Master's Gardener's title, which is something she's worked at for 3 years. And Stella and Bea, they're the future of the Sawyer family. Luck is an important part of life. I've always said that it's part of hard work, but only if you have your brain in gear. The second place is you want to be at the right place at the right time. In April of '62, I was walking into the crop science building and I heard a great big shout. It was George Jones, my mentor. He said, "What are you going to do this summer?" "Oh, go home and clean the steer pans out, board up the feeding troughs, buy some pigs, feed, and see if I can make adequate money to get back to school." "No, you're not," he said. "There's a company in Toronto that is introducing a new herbicide called atrazine that control weeds in corn. They're looking for a summer student. Go to Toronto and apply for the job." I made an appointment and I went to see Mr. Norman, and he told me that I could have the job. What did I expect for pay? I didn't know. He said, "Well, let's make it simple. What's it cost to go back to school?" "So many dollars. I'll pay you that." Just like that. And several times in my career with Mr. Norman, he addressed things the same way. He gave me a Land Rover to travel around, and it had a sprayer on it, and I would go to Ridgetown and work with John Curtis and Richard Frank, and we would just do a lot of good things that was ahead of the game, because that was '62. We sprayed Treflan pre-emergence. It didn't work. The next year he said, "Tom, we have to incorporate it." And so it's a long step that we've made in the last few years. I'd go to Guelph and I'd talk to this mentor, George Jones, Andy Anderson, and in 1964, John Bandine. You know, all of these people have made a significant contribution to growing corn in Ontario. Andy and I would go and see the mechanical engineer there, Don Clark, and he would give us 16 nozzles, and we would take it out and give it to our custom applicators, and we would keep track of all the things that they do, and then we would give them back to Don Clark in August, and he would recalibrate them. He would write up what happened, and it would be published in the weed summation document. And it was a wonderful tool to have when you went to talk to the farmers in the summertime, when you knew what happened with the nozzles. This is one that I wasn't sure I was going to tell you about, but we had a problem with this atrazine. It had hair in it. And anybody that's ever run a sprayer with the nozzles, you know, with 100 mesh and this sort of thing, because everybody's using 2,4-D, you just had a mess. And everybody taught me new words because they didn't think that that was proper. So I would report to my boss and say, look, this is a problem, it's not acceptable, it's got to be fixed. And, oh yes, Tom, we're working on it, it'll be fixed, and you'll be all right, not a problem. In '64, I was a full-time employee, and I got a call from a fellow called Al Moore, and he was spraying at Canada Packers, and he was having a trouble. And I'll tell you, the air was blue. And he was an Air Force pilot and also a 49 Aggie, and so he knew all the bad words, I think, that I'd ever heard. He was very unhappy. So anyway, I went and got him some new product and this sort of thing. And I took an envelope and I took it to a place called Guelph. And there was a lady there by the name of Miss Franks who worked in the textile department. She said, Tom, give me an hour, because I knew her from working on the athletic commission, committees at the university. I've known her for many years. When I went back to her, she said, Tom, it's jute. Bingo, the lights went on. The atrazine was brought in here by ship, and it had a nice plastic bag inside that was quite strong, but the outside was jute, because it took the abuse of all the forklifts and all the other good things that we do. So that was the hair problem we had, was this jute in the atrazine. So I called my boss up in Toronto and said, look, this is the problem we've got. I suspect if you go down to the plant that you'll find the problem and this sort of thing and fix it. So he called me on the weekend and said, Tom, you better come into the office. OAC had such a reputation at that time that the people were primarily from England that were running the company, and they thought that it was wrong that I showed a weakness in our product. And so my boss said to me on Monday morning, Tom, you're unique. On Friday you were fired. This morning they had another meeting and you've been rehired, and you've got a raise. So, you know, and there's several other things I'd like to talk to you about. The boys thought there was a problem, and they said, well, get Sawyer to look after it, but we won't go into it. I had the pleasure of walking 600 acres of land with Whipper Billy Watson. Yeah? And he was not a bad fellow at all. It was a pleasure. And then there was Mr. McCormick. He sprayed atrazine with an apple sprayer, you know, but he incorporated it and it worked. That's the first time I saw atrazine incorporated. If you want a long story, I would tell you, but he said, you know, Tom, we've got a softball game tonight with the community next, and we're short of players. Do you think you'd come and play? And I said, well, gosh, I always love to play ball. And so we went over there and got there, and he said, Tom, I apologize, we got enough players, but the opposition doesn't have enough players. And so they said, can you catch? I said, oh yes, I can catch. I caught 3 years in OBA and this sort of thing. So anyway, to make a long story short, the team that I was playing with, we beat the team that I rode with, got it over. So these were some of the things that, and the daughter was here 2 years ago, and I had a good talk with her. It was excellent. Now, this next one is a serious thing that we had with the TFIO, and most of you will never know that it was a problem. in the middle 90s, you couldn't find two people that would agree on what the rules were on implements of husbandry on highways and roads. Is that before you? Okay. Actually, we put together all the paper and whatnot, and it was really a gift that we were able to put it together. We got it fixed, and it was interesting because then many different components of agriculture came together and would sit down and they would work at it together and fix it. And it really was a tremendous thing, and we'll arrange another time when I'll tell you the whole part about that, because we were really lucky. There was a fellow named Bill Can from Glencoe, and he knew farm equipment, and also he knew the Highway Act, and so he could put it together, and that's what saved us. Similarly, we talked this morning about the CCA, the Certified Crop Advisor thing. That's no doubt about it. That is a winner, and you should have that in the Hall of Fame. But I did look, and it doesn't say things, it says people. So, but I think the Certified Crop Advisor may be one of the most important things that you will have seen in agriculture in many years. This is a book called The Next Best Thing to Rain. Don't write a book unless you know what you're doing. It took us 10 years to write it. It is an excellent book. And I would like everyone that's interested to come and sign and give us your telephone number. So one signature and one telephone number. We'd like you, if you have an interest, please sign it. And because I'd like to know all the good people that are here today.